It's time to talk some National League and give out some World Series predictions. Let's talk some baseball. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back in to another episode for Just a Bet Outside. I am your host, Steven, and we're here to talk some more baseball, baby. That's right, we are getting oh so close to first pitch. I cannot freaking wait. If you were looking for the American League video, that is already out, so go back and check that out. I think it was released like a week or two ago. But in this one, we're going to talk National League. We're going to preview each division and we're going to give out our best future bets and World Series predictions. That's right, it is that time. But before we get into all that, we got to welcome the guy back. It is Mr. Brad, the man with the second best beard on this video. What's going on, man?
Arguably the best, but everything's going great, man. Talking
Good.
baseball, we got 3 more days till we get a good baseball game in.
Yep,
Can't
that's
wait.
right. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. So, like we mentioned, the MLB season, it does start March 28th. Technically, it starts March 20th. Is that in Korea, by the way? I don't remember where that's at exactly, but
I think it
it's
is.
something like that. It's a two-game series between the Dodgers and the or not Is it Padres? Yeah, Padres on March
Yep, Padres.
20th. But the season actually starts for everybody else March 28th. So, but anyways, if you want to look at the recap of our MLB future bets from 2023, we did that in the American League video. So go check that out. We go over what we hit, what we didn't. We hit some nice winners. So hopefully we can do that again. But I'm ready to get going. We're going to talk to NL East first, then go NL Central and NL West. And I'm going to have a few player spotlights to talk through some players too that you may not have heard of or that might have a good season. And then at the very end, we're going to give our best futures and our World Series prediction. Who is taking home the trophy this year? And no, we're not going to say Mariners or Tigers, even though those are our teams, but we wish we could. But anyways, we're ready to get going. Hit that like button, leave a comment below, help this channel. We're trying to build that baseball community as we gear up. We will have MLB daily betting videos, so stay tuned for that. If you're new to the channel, welcome to the community. Hit that subscribe button as we chase our first 22,000 subscribers. You guys are freaking awesome. I'm ready to roll, and it starts with the NL East. All right, those are the odds to win the division in the NL East, and it is not even close right now. The Braves, a huge favorite at minus 240, and then the Phillies plus 310, and that's about it. Because then you got the Mets plus 1100, Marlins plus 1600, and the Nationals plus 16,000. It might as well be 1.6 million. They have no shot at all. But that's what we got for the NL East odds. Last year, Braves won the division by 14 games over the Phillies. And then the Marlins came in at third, and the Mets, with one of the highest payrolls in the MLB, finished 75 and 87. And the Nats are just absolutely awful. So let's talk Braves real quick to start it out. Brad, I'll kick it to you. We all like the Braves.
Yeah, no, I mean the Braves are probably all around the best, well-rounded team outside of the Dodgers. But yeah, you got Spencer Strider, who's a Cy Young candidate, obviously. Added Chris Sale. Now you get Max Fried, Charlie Morton's still okay. Bullpen is kind of probably where they're going to be weak. Bummer, Jimenez, Lee, and Matzik. They're still decent, but that's probably their only weakness. But it's not even weak. Um, Catchers, I mean Darnell and Murphy. That's a good one too. Bunch with catchers. Uh, Ozzy Albies, of course. These guys all hit bombs. Albies, Matt Olson, Austin Riley, Acuna, Harris, and your boy from Seattle at Kelnick. Added him.
You know what? He sucks. Okay, he just flat out sucks. I was worried he was going to go to another team and dominate. He was supposed to be the number 8 hole hitter. He's the man. He's sucking so bad in spring training. They're now saying he's going to share time with Adam Duvall because that's how
Yeah.
much Kevin sucks. He is going to be one of the biggest busts in MLB history. But yeah, I mean, this team, it's stupid. This team is absolutely stupid. They're the number 1 batting average last year, number 1 in home runs in the majors, number 1 in runs scored, and they had 41 more runs scored than any other team in baseball. I mean, it's just what else do we need to say? I mean, Austin Riley and Matt Olson. You'd be lucky to have one of those guys in your lineup to back up the MVP Ronald Acuna. Michael Harris, which I'm going to talk about more later, but my goodness, guys, he is one of the better hitters in the league as well. But
Hmm.
yeah, like you said, they lost Eddie Rosario. He was a good hitter, but I mean, I think they had, was it all the infield spots in the All Star game last year? I could be wrong or something like that. I mean, their 8 and 9 hitters would have hit top of the order for the Mariners. That's all I'm gonna
Oh, yeah,
say.
definitely. And they still have Ozuna. He
Yeah.
still rakes.
Yeah, it's just absolutely stupid. But this, I agree with you on the rotation. The rotation's probably going to be their biggest like question mark. I think they are one pitcher away from just being just maybe unbeatable. Because you got the main two, Max Fried and Strider. But then the aging veterans. I think Chris Sale's the wild card on this team. What
Mhm.
is he going to bring? Is he going to be decent back to form? I will say Chris Sale is going to bring an attitude to this team that they need, because he's a competitor, man. And I think the Braves need something like that, especially in the playoffs if he can stay healthy. Charlie Morton's 40 years old, Chris Sale 34. They need one of those two guys to step up. I think we know what Morton is now at this point, right? He's not going to
Yeah.
do anything different, but Chris Sale's got it, and then they got Bryce Elder, who a low strikeout guy. But a decent guy. But I still think who I do like. You ever seen AJ Smith-Shawver? He's a good pitcher, good young pitcher. He may start in AAA, but he's going to be ready to go. So I think he's pretty good. And then Hurston Waldrop is another prospect that they hope to help him out this year as well. So they got some hope, but I'm surprised they didn't try to go get a pitcher. Or imagine if they added Corbin Burns or something. That would have been something.
I mean,
But
Blake Snell's still out there. He just wants too many
isn't that,
years.
that's just absolutely wild too? By the
He
way,
just
I
wants
don't
too
know.
many years. He wants 9 years. What the?
Is that what he
You're not gonna
said?
get.
Oh my
He wants
gosh.
9 years, 30 million a year. So he wants 9 years, 270 million. And
That is
that's
ridiculous.
not gonna happen. The Yankees offered him 6 years for 150, and he turned it down.
No,
I'm
that's
like
ridiculous.
that.
I wouldn't do
Yeah,
that for a guy that won a Cy Young and
yeah,
then struggled before he won a
yeah,
Cy Young again. Yeah,
and he's 31, so he wants to
yeah,
be signed till he's 40. Like that's not gonna happen, dude.
no, not at all. But Braves, we all love them. We're gonna talk more about them later in this video. But I think they need to get one more starting pitcher. But when I say need, I mean just to be up there with the best of the best. Because this Braves team is absolutely loaded. I love everything about them. I would do anything to have two of their hitters on the Mariners lineup. Just absolutely unreal. But let's go through this. We're not going to spend a ton of time on some terrible teams, but this next team is not terrible. The Philadelphia Phillies. They had a quieter offseason. They lost Rhys Hoskins, Craig Kimbrell, big deal. Michael Lorenzen, and then they added Spencer Turnbull, your boy, from the Tigers, and some relievers. But they did sign Aaron Nola to a 7-year, $172 million extension, and Zach Wheeler to a 3-year, $126 million contract, the largest annual salary for a contract extension in MLB history. That's right. That's the stats you get here at Just About Outside. But he also has the 6th lowest playoff ERA in history, Zach Wheeler. So other than that, offense, it's carried by their offense, guys. We got obviously Bryce Harper, but Trey Turner struggled terribly in the first half. I mean, he was getting booed in Philadelphia, and my goodness, did he turn it around. I mean, he was a stud. Which one shows up? He hit 241 in the first half, or the guy that hit 292 in the second half? So you got him and Bryce Harper, of course, and then Castellanos, Realmuto, Schwarber, which I'm curious to get your take, Brad, on this one. Schwarber is not a leadoff hitter, but he
No.
continues to bat leadoff, and the stats say they win more with him at leadoff for whatever, who knows if it's actually that. But would you lead him off? It's just bizarre to me for a guy that strikes out a lot, hits only home runs pretty much. I don't know.
There's metrics now in baseball that people follow. The game has changed. It's no longer get your contact speedy guy to hit first anymore. It's just whatever works. I mean, they had Real Muto leading off at times, and he's a catcher.
Yeah.
Like that's also weird. The game's changing. I wouldn't personally have him bat lead off. I'd probably have him bat 4 because he just hits bombs. Get guys on base in front of him because now he's leading off. They're solo bombs, so it's a
Yeah.
run. I'd rather have that a 2-run bomb or a 3-run bomb.
Mm-hmm.
To get more RBIs. He still had 104, which is still crazy, and 47 home runs. But he only bats 197. He's
How
batting
is
under
that
the Mendoza line. Like, and
isn't
that's
that
your leadoff
insane?
hitter. Yeah, your leadoff hitter should be close to having the highest average on the team. He had the absolute lowest.
Under
It's
200
crazy.
and over 100 RBIs. How many times has that happened in the majors? That's what I'd be curious to see.
That's something to bet on. That's insane.
That's insane, yeah.
Doesn't
And
make any.
and back to Trey Turner. Not only did he hit well in the second half, in the final 48 games, he hit 337. That guy was on fire. They also like Johan Rojas in center field. He hit 302
Mhm.
last year in limited time. Great defense, things like that. And then you got your guys, Alec Baum, Bryson Stott. I mean, it's a pretty deep lineup. I know Stott struggled a little down the stretch, but lineup is not going to be their issue at all if they have any. They had the 14th best ERA as a rotation. It's obviously led by the two-headed monster we just talked about, Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler. And then the 3 through 5, they didn't really change it. We're talking Taijuan Walker, Christopher Sanchez, Ranger Suarez. Sanchez did have a good year last year, 3.44 ERA, low walk rate, and a very elite 58% ground ball rate, which is just unreal, 98th percentile. I've never been a huge fan of Taijuan Walker. He's just okay. He was supposed to be a stud when he came through the Mariners. He's just one of those okay guys. But no, the thing I like about the Phillies rotation, they don't have a glaring weakness. These last 3 guys might not be excellent, but they can be known to have good seasons. And I don't see anybody where like, oh god, that guy's on the mound, they're gonna rock him. What do you think about their rotation?
Oh, the rotation's great. Even though Aaron Nola got that extension, then his ERA was still 4.46, which is
Yeah,
not ideal for a guy you're paying that much.
yeah,
But I mean, they have offense. Offense is going to carry the team. Obviously, their pitching will probably give up 3-4 runs a game, but they're going to score like 8 or 9.
hmm
It's
yeah.
just part of the
I
game. They also added Whit Merrifield for second base. That's a big pickup. That's an average guy, and it's still you bags and everything. He
yeah. I
actually
mean,
should be batting leadoff.
no, even if he's not a leader, even if he's like a utility off the bench guy, like that's a great veteran player to have. Their bullpen, they turned around the second half of the year. They had the 5th best bullpen ERA from August 1st on, 3.22. They had a sneaky good signing of Jeff Hoffman last year. And Soto had kind of a down season last year for them, but Alvarado, Dominguez, they actually pitched pretty well. So I don't think,
Mhm.
they're going to be right there. I don't see any glaring weaknesses for them, and they're big game players. They know how to play in the playoffs too. So we may have a little bit more to say about the Phillies a little later. So let's move on to the Miami Marlins, and I have a bet on this team, and I am not going to talk a lot about them because I will talk a lot about them later. But just kind of what they've done in the offseason real quick before I kick it to Brad. They lost Jorge Soler, big power hitter. They don't have a lot of power, so to lose him is gonna be hard. Sandy Alcantara or Contra, however the heck you want to pronounce that name, he will be out with an injury all year, and that's about what I got for now. I'll talk about him later. What do you think about this Marlins team?
I think they'll be sneaky decent. Like I have them getting like 62 wins. Nothing crazy, but
62 is terrible, Brad.
I know it's terrible, but there's gonna be worse. The A's are gonna have like 40. Um,
The
they're
A's did have almost 60 last year, actually, I think, or maybe around
yeah.
60.
Well, they didn't get any better, but they definitely got worse. But
Agreed.
no, I mean their starting rotation looks a little weak. All they really have is Luzardo, and he didn't even pitch that well. Um, Sixto Sanchez, Weathers, Rogers. Also, the bullpen's not very good. It's got Bender, Puck, and Scott. I mean,
Yeah.
they don't really
Well,
have like a closer.
Sixto Sanchez. I don't think he's gonna make it to Major League roster again. He
Exactly.
never,
Like
he
he's
never can.
protected.
Yeah.
They also have Edward Cabrera, who's also pretty decent too. Him and Sixto are about the same. But
Yuri Perez is a good young pitcher.
yeah,
If he has his command, he's pretty electric too. But I think Jazz Chisholm is overrated. I don't understand why he's considered one
yeah.
of the better players in the majors when he hasn't really showed it. But that's just my opinion on the Marlins.
Yeah. No, he was just a young stud and had some flash.
Yeah,
That's pretty much it. I mean, he batted 250, 19 bombs, and 51 ribbies. Like, and that was
yeah,
like the 3 hitter. So
I
that's
know.
not good. Uh,
Yeah,
Berger is the only guy who really hits bombs. He had 34, but other than that, the next closest is Josh Bell with 22.
yeah. And
They don't
Berger
really
didn't hit all 34 with the Marlins. He got traded half. So
exactly,
I mean, he hit some with the White
exactly.
Sox. Yeah. So they're lack power. Yeah, you'll see my best bet. You probably know where I'm heading a little bit with them, but yeah, that's the Marlins. We don't need to talk too much about them. I'll give you more detail about how the Marlins are going to be and what they did last year. That was pretty amazing. But anyways, 14 New York Mets. Some big changes in Queens this year. New manager Carlos Mendoza, new president of baseball operations. They added Luis Severino, Sean Manaea, and Harrison Bader. Whoopity doo. This offense to me is nothing special once you get past the first 4. What do you think about this offense?
Same thing you just said, pretty much. I mean, the only real hitters they have are Lindor, Neal is good contact,
Hmm.
Alonso, and I mean Beatty's a little iffy, but that's about it. They didn't get any better. They got worse this year. I don't see
That
them in the run for winning division or anything. They do have a decent bullpen, like you said. They have Pickford, Diekman, Lopez. I think Manaea's projected to be in the bullpen, not even be a starter. Uh, Ottavino and Smith. And then of course they get Edwin Diaz back, one of the best closers in the game.
Yeah, and that's where
That's
it's going to
all.
be huge from last year. I mean,
Yeah,
having Diaz back there, that back end of the bullpen was pretty ugly last year. Cost them some games for sure. But I
yeah.
mean, you got when you got a guy like Lindor, he's been top 10 MVP voting the last 10 years. You got Pete Alonso, who's by the way on a contract year, and it looks like he wants to test the market. So I don't know what that means. I don't know. Maybe he gets traded halfway through the year. But Francisco Alvarez, don't sleep on him. He surprised everyone last year. He had 25 bombs in 123 games, so he was a good hitter for them. Nimmo and McNeil are kind of like you mentioned, McNeil. They're going to hit 270 with a little bit of pop. But the team's okay. To me, it's fine. It's got some good pieces. But their rotation, the huge part is, and I haven't even checked recently, but Kodai Senga's hurt. He's starting out with a shoulder
Yep.
injury. I don't know how long he's gone for. Do you know? I don't. I didn't check it out.
I think it's the first couple months at least.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then they
that's
signed Quintana. I mean, these guys are all like sub four, past 4 ERAs.
yeah. No,
Starting pitching's not very good. Their bullpen's
no, I
better
mean
than the starting rotation.
definitely, yeah, because I mean, if you don't have Senga, you're counting on, Manaya if he is in the rotation. Quintana, Sean Manaya. I mean, Luis Severino. It's just not pretty. Is Severino going to return to form from a couple years ago? Maybe, but I don't know. Their rotation actually without Senga could be pretty ugly. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
you're going from
Um,
having Scherzer and Verlander, and now you have this. Crazy.
yeah, ugly. And by the way, that was the dumbest move ever. I said it all year last year. What are you paying two old men for that much money to pitch on your team? But whatever. Ninth highest bullpen ERA last season. Obviously, the return of Edwin Diaz will solidify this and really help them out. They should have a decent bullpen, a decent lineup with a weak rotation. That's really what I got out of them. They're not going to do anything this year, in my opinion. But the fifth team, the Nationals, we're going to keep it simple. The team sucks. They blow. They're awful. They're horrendous. But they have a few little good pieces. But I will say, we mentioned this in the American League video. If you have Joey Gallo on your team, you are going to be an awful team, right? Right, Brad? Is that what your quote was
Yeah,
last
yeah.
video?
I love Joey Gallo as a person. As a ball player, he had more singles than he had more home runs than singles,
Still blown
which is
away by that.
insane. I
Yeah.
yeah. There's not much to say about him. It's all power. That's why he's getting these 1 year deals and not really sticking on a team because they're just like whatever. We'll pay this guy 11 million to strike out 8 million times and hit 20 bombs.
God, I wish I was that terrible at all my jobs and made millions. But a few young pieces. C.J. Abrams, you're going to hear about him later as well. Lane Thomas, decent. The rotation is going to be about the same. Patrick Corbin, who for a long part of this season, in the last year and a half, has been one of the worst pitchers in the major leagues. He turned it around a little bit and improved. I don't mind Mackenzie Gore. I keep waiting for him to kind of turn it around, the big lefty. And Josiah Gray's okay. He hasn't lived up to the hype either. So I'm going to save some time in this video, Brad, and just say this team is bad. They will finish fifth in this division, and we can move on. You good with that?
Oh yeah, it's 50-win team.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe 20. No, I'm just joking. But so that's the NL East. We will have more to talk about, obviously, in bets and World Series predictions and all that. But let's go to the National League Central right now. And those are the odds right there to win the division. We got the Cardinals plus 180 tied with the Cubs plus 180, Reds plus 350, Brewers plus 700, and the Pirates plus 1600. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I don't. There's no elite team in this division, but I'm actually kind of excited for this division. Call me weird, but I think it's competitive this year, and it wasn't like that last year. But I think it's got the biggest chance for I could see three teams winning this division. Honestly, maybe four. I don't know about the Brewers anymore, but anyways, that's just kind of how I feel. But let's start out with the Cardinals. This Cardinals team, my goodness. They finished last place for the first time since realignment on the divisions. Old team, obviously, and they just acquired 6 players in the offseason of 34 years or older. And their offense obviously carried by the main three. I mean, Contreras, Goldie, and Nolan Arenado. But in my opinion, I mean, it's going to count on the young guys. Jordan Walker has shown flashes. Can he continue that? Nolan Gorman, things like that. What do you think about this Cardinals team? It's kind of they were so bad last year and unexpected. Can they make the big jump? Was that just a fluke of a season, or where do you see them at?
I mean, the Cardinals are usually good, right? They're usually top in that division. You're used to seeing that because they have like they had Molina behind there, good veteran presence, Goldschmidt, Arenado. I think they'll still be in that. They have a chance to win the division. They'll be competing for it, I believe. But I mean, their hitting is good. They added Brandon Crawford, which I mean, I think that's just a whatever signing. Still got Tommy Edman. Lars Nootbaar's good. So is Dylan Carlson. And they brought back my boy Matt Carpenter, who knows what he's gonna do. Um, yeah, some of these guys are past their primes, but maybe put it all together.
Yeah, I think the wild card here is you kind of know what you're going to get for the most part from Arenado and Goldie, although they didn't have great years last year. But Jordan Walker, Nolan Gorman, I think maybe you say it, 27 home runs last year. Mason Wynn, 22-year-old, he struggled last year in 122 ABs, but he's dominated the minors, so he's a guy they're counting on. Great at getting on base, and then you got Fig Newton, like you said, and Brendan Donovan. So I mean, their lineup's good, guys. Listen, if Arenado and Goldie have great years like they have, and some of these younger guys step up, this will be one of the better lineups in baseball. Their rotation was absolutely horrendous last year. I mean, it was so bad. They were putting out Adam Wainwright every 5 days. Adam Wainwright was like, he wasn't a major leaguer. And listen, Adam Wainwright's a Hall of Famer. He's a stud. But at his age and what he was doing, I just couldn't wait to bet against him every time last year. So, but again, it's going to be better this year, but it's still a big worry. They did go out and sign Ace Sonny Gray, 3 years, $75 million, but he's also not young as well. So here's the ages of their rotation. You ready for this? 34, 35, 36, 36, and 32. And I'm talking Sonny Gray, Miles Mikolas, Kyle Gibson, Lance Lynn, and Steven Matz. Thoughts on this rotation, Brad?
Uh, it's not very good. It's a lot of veteran presence again. Kyle Gibson. I Jesus.
I don't
Not
think
much
he's
to
that
say
good.
about him.
Yeah.
No, he's not. I mean, Lance Lynn has been shown he could be dominant, but he hasn't been dominant in the past like 3 years. He was good the first 2 years with the White Sox, but hasn't shown it ever since.
And he's
Sonny Gray's
36 now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Sonny Gray, same thing. Sonny Gray, was lights out with the A's, but hasn't been the same since the A's, to be honest. So, and Mikolas is just Michaelis, whatever, same. Just average pitchers. They do have a good bullpen though.
Yeah, they do, but I don't understand what they're doing here. Lance Lynn is 36 years old. He had a 5.73 ERA. He's not all of a sudden going to turn into even a 4 ERA guy. Probably he eats innings. I will say that he pitches a lot of innings. But I don't know. It's better because of Sonny Gray, but this rotation after him still sucks. And can Sonny Gray do what he's done the last couple seasons at age 34? We'll see. But it was a good pickup. But their bullpen had the 8th worst bullpen ERA last year. But they did give up the 7th fewest home runs, which obviously you like to see. They're going to have a healthy Ryan Helsley back. He had a 2.45 ERA last year, 52 Ks, 36 innings. Then you got Romero, Gallegos, and Middleton. So, to me, this bullpens are finicky, guys. You don't know. So one year they could be awesome, same pitchers. Next year they could suck. I think they're about average. I don't know. I don't know if you think they're better than that, maybe. But I don't see much from them. So, I mean, really, with the Cardinals, offense is going to be stacked, and they're going to have a lack of pitching. That's what it is. They're going to just have to outscore people, which you're going to see as the theme in this division. Because now we move on to the Chicago Cubbies. That's right, the Cubbies. They missed the playoffs by one game last year. They now have Craig Counsell that takes over as the new manager. They finally re-signed Cody Bellinger. They added Shota Imanaga. How did I do with that? I don't know. 3.18 ERA in Japan to replace Marcus Stroman. Um, I kind of like the Cubbies this year, to be honest. They scored the 5th most runs in the major leagues last season, but they had about league average for home runs, so not a ton of pop. 6th best on base percentage last year. What do you think about this Cubs team?
Oh, I like them. I like the Cubs. I like that Bellinger went back to the Cubs. The fact that they re-signed him is awesome. Yeah, they got Nico Horner, Morel, Madrigal, Patrick Wisdom had kind of a down year, but not really. He batted 205, but still had 23. I'm a big Dansby Swanson fan. I think he's very undervalued.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely one of the best shortstops in the game. Does everything. Ian Happ still hits, still rakes. Seiya
How old is
Suzuki.
he? 68? Doesn't seem like Ian Happ's been in the league forever.
Yeah, and he's surprisingly not even that old. I think he's like 35 or 36. That's old, but not like as old as you
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he still plays, and of course Bellinger, like I said, coming off a career year to get that get that contract. 307, 26 bombs, and 97 ribbies, 881 OPS. I mean,
Yeah.
dude's still balling.
No, I agree. It's a deep lineup because Morel, hit 26 home runs last year and 70 ribbies. So
Yeah.
I just like, I just like the lineup because you can just go pretty deep. Like you already mentioned, you got Bellinger, Seiya Suzuki, Morel, Dansby Swanson, Nico Horner. I mean, they got a lot of good hitters. But if Bellinger can continue his success, which you think he's probably turned a corner and going to be good from now on, but you never know. With Morel and they also that Bush signing that they had, this could be a top 10 offense in the league again. It wouldn't surprise me. Rotations led by their ace Justin Steele, who was right in the thick of the Cy Young race last year. He was absolutely incredible. Finished fifth by the end of it. But then you got Kyle Hendricks, who somehow figures out how to pitch without throwing hard and striking out guys. He's just one of those guys that is okay. He gets the job done. You don't want to count on him really in a big game. But then Shota Imanaga, the guy from Japan, he's going to be the wild card because if he comes in and dominates like they hope he can, like they paid for him to do, and you got Justin Steele and him, it's a great 1-2 punch in a division where you don't need to be excellent, you just need to be good. So, and then Jameson Taillon, it's okay, but I think it's about those top two guys. There's obviously need some more pitching, but I don't know. You got any thoughts on Hendricks or Taillon
Yeah,
or any
no,
of the rest of this?
and Hendricks is just, I mean, he's just one of those guys. He was kind of like Rich Hill, right? Just old, just doesn't throw hard, just crafty.
Yeah.
Somehow doesn't get the doors blown off. I mean, his ERA was 3.74 last year, which is not
Yeah. How?
terrible. Like,
How?
that's what I'm saying. He only had 93 Ks. Like, you're a starting pitcher, and it's crazy. Their definite weakness for pitching is going to be the closer. Hector Neris is just the freaking worst. That guy blows so many saves.
But I think Alzolay might be their closer, or he may end up. Adbert Alzolay, he 22
Yeah,
saves last year, under 3 ERA, good command. It has to be him because Neris is
yeah.
not the answer
No, that
for
guy
sure.
just, oh, yeah, he blows way too many saves. Maybe
Yeah.
be a setup guy, be the eighth inning guy, maybe, but even then, he could blow that. So
Well,
the guy
I
just
mean,
he just doesn't get the outs when they need him. It just doesn't
no,
happen.
they had the seventh fewest saves. To your point,
Yeah,
they had the seventh fewest saves last year. They blew 22 of 57 save opportunities.
yeah,
22
yeah.
of 57 blown. That's a lot, thanks to Neris. But 13th in bullpen ERA. But yeah, Alzolay should help as the closer. Hopefully, Mark Leiter Jr. Wasn't he supposed to be some stud starting pitcher? Now he's in the bullpen. Julian Merriweather had the best season of his career last year. So they're probably missing, if Alzolay can solidify the closer role, probably missing a good setup man or just still another arm or two away from the bullpen. But that's the Cubbies. Again, these are all you're going to notice when we talk about these top teams. They're all going to be pretty close. There's a reason the Cardinals and the Cubs are even with the odds. So let's move on to the next team, and this next team is one of the most exciting, teams that I can't quite get my finger on as to what to expect this year. It's these Reds team, man. They are young as heck. They sat at 59 and 51 at the beginning of August. I remember all the Reds fans coming out on our daily videos. They are going to the World Series, all this excitement. And then they realized, wait a second, these guys are like teenagers. They went 23 and 29 the last 52 games. Last year they had the Major League Baseball's worst defense. Something we don't talk about much in these videos, but they had the worst defense. That is important, and a bad starting rotation. So if you have a bad starting rotation and a bad defense, it's just not a great combo. So I'll kick it to you first. What do you think about this Reds team?
Uh, I think they'll be sneaky good. They're going to compete for the division. I don't think they will win it though. But I mean, they don't. Same thing with pitching. They don't really have a bunch of pitching. They got Abbott, Hunter Green, Lodolo, and like Montez as their starters.
It's the NL
Hunter Green,
Central theme. That's just the
yeah,
division. Yeah.
they just don't get good starting pitching rotations. It's
Hmm.
insane. They do have decent bullpen with Antone, Diaz, Farmer, Martinez, Pagan, and Sutter. But other than that, yeah, they don't really have much. They have Dela Cruz and like Jonathan India. They do have my boy Candelario from
Yeah.
the Tigers.
That,
That helps. That's a good
that's a good.
signing.
Yeah. I
But
agree. But
they do have Encarnacion Strand as well. He's an upcoming stud.
but I mean, a couple of guys you're missing that played well last year was Matt McLean and Spencer Steer. We had a lot of hitter props with guys like that, but Matt McLean hit 290, 16 home runs, 50 ribbies, and only 365 at bats. Here's the deal with Ellie De La Cruz. I don't know if people followed him closely last year. He's got a ton of talent. He came scorching hot out of the gate, and then In his last 68 games, he hit 191. He struck out a ton. So the major league pitchers corrected to him. Can Ellie Deli Cruz now make his adjustments and correct back? Because he's got a ton of talent. But if Ellie Deli Cruz comes out as that guy who hit 191 and struck out a ton, that's going to hurt this lineup big time because they're going to count on him. Steer was a stud, obviously. 86 ribbies, 23 home runs, hit 271. Then you got Friedel, Jonathan India, like you mentioned. Tyler Stevenson, by the way, good hitting catcher. So, their lineup can be loaded. Noelvi Marte, he is a guy who was a top prospect for the Mariners, and we traded him to get Luis Castillo. He is going to be one of those guys, another young guy who has all the potential in the world, and then he gets suspended for 80 games. So that's going to hurt them. But lineup can be deep. So we'll see what these young guys can do. With young guys, sometimes you get that sophomore slump. We'll see where they end up being. But like you said, the rotation, it's okay. We keep waiting for Hunter Green to be like the next superstar because there's games when he looks just absolutely unhittable. But he's been struggling with injuries. He still had almost a 5 ERA. He can dominate, then struggle. I don't know, 4.62 ERA in his first 46 career starts. So, okay, nothing special. But he needs to be more consistent. Andrew Abbott is just a gamer, I think. Again, another pitcher who came out 1.9 ERA in his first 10 MLB starts, and then a 6.09 ERA in his final 10 starts. Obviously, you get fatigue as a rookie. These young guys. I don't know if I feel like they're a year or two away. Are you kind of under that, or do you think this is the year they can start contending?
No, it's definitely not this year. It all depends on Dela Cruz, like you said. Is he actually going to perform? Is he going to make that big jump? He came out hot and then just showed, he couldn't really hit. He ended with a 235 average and 13 home runs. This is the guy they're projecting. He's supposed to be batting like 280, hitting like 30 home runs, and just being an absolute stud. If he does that, maybe, but you still need other pieces around it. I don't think they have enough pieces to actually contend.
I agree because like in the rotation, like you said, Lodolo, he's got swing and miss stuff, but can he stay healthy? They did add Frankie Montas and Nick Martinez to help him out. But you know what? Just like all these other people or other teams in the NL Central, do they have enough pitching? I think the Cubbies have, not the Cardinals, but I think the Cubs have more pitching than this team right now. But the Reds do have more than the Cardinals, in my opinion. So their bullpen, like you said, they were average last year. They're going to be okay. There's nothing special that scares you here. And they play at Great American Small Park over there. It's going to be a hitter's park. It's going to be another game of overs. If you want to bet their games, bet a lot of overs probably until the books catch up. But that's what we got for the Reds. All right, the Brewers now. They won the division easily by 9 games last year, but they lost Corbin Burns, lost their head coach, added Rhys Hoskins. This is not a team they're not favored to win the division for the first time in quite a while. And I think their offense absolutely blows. I just do. But Brad, what do you think about this Brewers team?
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Their strength is the starting rotation, but hitting wise, they don't really have many great hitters. Adding Rhys Hoskins helps, but Yelich isn't that MVP Yelich anymore. Willie Adames just hits for power. Owen Miller's pretty good. Terang too. Bowers. They do have a good hitting catcher in Contreras. Eric Haas from my Tigers is on the team now. He can play outfield and catch. But yeah, I don't see them being offensive juggernauts, and that's probably going to kill them in the division.
Yeah. They're a team that's relied on starting pitching forever, and that's what they hang their hat on. Well, now they no longer have Brandon Woodruff. They no longer have Corbin Burns, so this is a totally different team. They've had no other player had a WRC plus of over 100 other than Contreras and Yelich, and 100 is league average. That's weighted runs created plus. They got Rhys Hoskins, but they're going to count on some young guys. And the big question mark is, will MLB's number 2 prospect overall, Jackson Chirios, I always think of churros whenever I see his name, will he make the team? How much can he impact the team in his first year? Sal Frelick also played a bit last season, young player. I just think they're not very good. And then the rotation, it's Freddie Peralta now, right? No Corbin Burns, no Woodruff. Peralta takes over as the ace. He had a 2.81 ERA after the All-Star break last year. Maybe a dark horse Cy Young winner. Just throwing it out there. I didn't bet it, but just a thought. And then after him, it's ugly. It's Colin Diarrhea, Wade Miley. It's just not pretty. So, that's the weird part is seeing a rotation that's not impressive for the Brewers is going to be tough. So I think they struggle quite a bit. I don't know.
Totally agree.
Well, their bullpen, actually, I do want to talk about one guy, though. So The bullpen has always been a strength. Obviously, when you had the Josh Hader days, which he's no longer there. Unfortunately, he joined the AL West, which was a pain in my ass seeing. But you got Devin Williams. You know, he's an absolute stud. But let's just do our first player spotlight. If you have not heard of this guy, Abner Uribe. He made 32 appearances as a rookie last year. He did not give up a run in 27 of those appearances. He held hitters to a 154 average, 176 ERA. He threw the 11 hardest pitches in Brewers history. How about that? The 11 hardest pitches in Brewers history. His fastest pitch last year, 103.3 miles an hour. This guy is a flamethrower. If he can dominate along with Devin Williams, they're going to still have a 1-2 punch that's just going to be unbelievable. So I just want to talk about him because it's just kind of wild. We'll see what he is. Obviously, he's still young, but you know, their bullpen, we'll see. I'm just not excited about the Brewers team in general. So that's about all we got, probably. But guess what? We're not going to have a lot to talk about here either because it's the Pittsburgh Pirates. I'll let you go first.
Oh, well, there you go. Pirates, about the same thing. I think they'll be in the same path as the Brewers, essentially. They don't really have much. McCutcheon looks like he's getting better again. But it's not going to be it. O'Neal Cruz, can that guy stay healthy? He's a stud. Brian Reynolds is nice. Winsky, Taylor, Connor Joe is actually pretty solid. I like Connor Joe. Brian Hayes, he seems to be actually catching a groove and actually getting better. He's not struggling anymore. They have Rowdy Tellez. They also have Yasmani Grandal now, so that's a good switch hitting catcher. They did sign Aroldis Chapman. They got a closer now. I don't know if that's really going to help them though. But the Bednar, Holderman, Fleming, Hernandez in the bullpen, but no starting rotation. You know, Marco Gonzalez, Mitch Keller looks pretty decent. Nicholas Perez, Quinn Priester is young. He's still developing. That's about it. I mean, not much to say about the Pirates. Are going to be middle of the pack of the division. Probably finish fourth.
So you think the Brewers are finishing fifth here?
They might, yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a toss up between the Pirates and the Brewers on who finishes dead last.
What could really help is if Mitch Keller, first of all, has another season like he did, but Mr. Paul Skeens, the number 1 overall pick. That guy is nasty.
Lights out.
Yeah, he's nasty. And he's going to start in the minors, it looks like, but his stuff is MLB ready. It's not going to take long. I think he's going to make a great 1-2 punch, which is going to be, you know, a nice little core rotation there for the Pirates. But Brian Hayes could take a next step forward. Like you mentioned, O'Neal Cruz is still really raw in my opinion. But Jack Sawinski, decent player. Brian Reynolds, obviously. So, you know, the team it's moving forward. They added Martin Perez too, which is a good help to the rotation. But it's moving forward, but it's not there yet. I think we kind of agree with that one, right?
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
They're still rebuilding.
Yep.
Just like the Brewers should start doing.
Yes, I agree. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about this division later, but that is the National League Central, which leads us to only one more division. It's the NL West. All right, those are the odds for the NL West, and we have a runaway favorite, obviously, the LA Dodgers, minus 450. D-backs, the NL winner last year, plus 850. Padres, plus 1,100. And the Giants, plus 1,300. And then, my goodness, this team is horrendous. The Colorado Rockies, plus 20,000 to win the division. So, we're going to start with the team that's been the most talked about team in the offseason. Has been the most talked about team for a long time now. It is the Los Angeles Dodgers. So I'm going to talk about this team a little bit in the best bets segment, but it's just they're kind of like the Braves, where it's just not fair what they're doing right now. Mookie Betts, by the way, will be moving to shortstop. Gavin Lux going to second base. But additions, they added a guy named Otani. He's average player at best. And Yoshinobu Yamamoto from Japan, also another good player. Teoscar Hernandez, Tyler Glasnow, the ace of the Rays, James Paxton, and then they lost JD Martinez and Julio Urias. So the lineup's silly. Brad, what do you got to say about this team?
They're literally just good. I mean, just like the Braves, they don't really have a weakness. I mean, their bullpen is definitely the best. I mean, Brazier, Gratterall, Joe Kelly, Trinan, Vesia,
Loaded.
those just loaded. I mean, just having Gratterall and Trinan, you can just have those two and you just dominate. Starting rotation obviously is good. You still have Kershaw's hurt, he'll come back, but you have Bueller, Glasnow, Bobby Miller throws gas and he's getting better. Paxton, and Yamamoto. I mean, who knows what he's gonna do? But he's the best pitcher out of Japan.
Mhm.
That says for a lot. And of course, getting Otani, like you said, that guy. I don't think he's gonna be that good, but
He's
um,
okay. You're right.
yeah,
He's just
he's
okay.
okay. Yeah, he only
Yeah,
hits 44 bombs, but it's all right.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm gonna have a bet that might surprise you on this team. So I won't talk too much about him, but I mean, your lineup is Mookie, Freeman, Otani, Will Smith, Max Muncy. But then the bottom of the order, Teoscar Hernandez, who was the middle of the order hitter for the Mariners last year, is now going to be probably what, hitting 7, 6.
Yeah, it's
Outman,
sad.
Hayward. I mean, it's stupid. It's just stupid. It is what it is. It's not fair. Rotation. I'm going to talk about this more because it's a big part of why I made my bet. But their bullpen's loaded. There's nothing else to say, guys. They're just absolutely loaded. They had the third best bullpen ERA last year at 3.42. And they're a favorite to win the World Series for a reason. I mean, they are the number one favorite. They are loaded. I will talk more about them later. We don't need to talk much more about the fact that they are just have all stars everywhere. Muncy might hit 200, but he might hit 35 bombs and still drive in 90 to 100 guys. So, not a lot of weaknesses, that's for sure. But we'll talk about them. Do you have anything else to add on the Dodgers?
Uh, no. Besides the fact that they have a lot of depth too. They still have Chris Taylor, Rojas,
Yep.
Outman, and Hayward. Like those guys are probably not even going to be in the lineup, but they're all solid.
And good,
So
good guys that can
there's
play
depth.
different positions too. Yeah,
Exactly. I
yeah.
love Chris Taylor. He can play anywhere. Put him anywhere. He's balling.
Ex
But yeah,
Mariner.
no. I mean, yeah, the Dodgers are good. They might even win. They're probably going to win like 110 games. I wouldn't be surprised.
Wow. Okay, well, we're gonna hear my bet later then. Number 2 team, Arizona Diamondbacks. What an incredible run they made to the World Series. My goodness. They fell just short losing to the Rangers, but they got another solid squad this year. It's hard to repeat and do the things they did, but they added Eduardo Rodriguez, the lefty from Brad's Detroit Tigers, 3.30 ERA last year. He's a huge addition for them. Randall Grichuk, Jock Peterson, they have now a DH platoon because Grichuk crushed lefties and Jock Peterson crushed righties, so they're going to do a nice little platoon there. They added the ex-Mariner now, and Eugenio Suarez, and he's a great clubhouse guy too. I mean, the guys loved him here in Seattle. Still has lots of power, plays some good defense. Their losses this year, Tommy Pham, he's a good piece for them last year for sure in the lineup, and Zach Davies, whoopee, who cares? But the lineup, they stole the second most bases in the majors behind only, do you know, Brad? Who would have stole the most? Putting
Would
you on the
that be
spot.
Atlanta?
Nope,
Would that
the
be Atlanta?
Cincinnati Reds.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Acuna only had 70 something.
Only. But this lineup is deep. I mean, Corbin Carroll, the NL Rookie of the Year, the guy from my neck of the woods. Ketel Marte, ex-Mariner. Gabriel Moreno hitting 284 last year, middle of the order. He was a good surprise for them. Christian Walker, obviously a stud first baseman, one of the best defensive first basemen out there. He hits for power. Then the platoon I talked about. Then Eugenio Suarez, Lourdes Gurriel at 261, 27 bombs last year. It's a good lineup. It's a deep lineup. When I talk about this team and all the good things they have about it, they are not beating the Dodgers in the division, but they are a good team. We're talking about playoffs because they have no chance to beat them in the division. But their rotation, now they got Eduardo Rodriguez. This team has always been known for just having Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly and then a bunch of dudes. And now they have Eduardo Rodriguez. And then they have a guy who I'm going to talk about in my second player spotlight of the video, Brandon Pfaadt. And I think that's how you pronounce it, but I have no clue. Pfaadt. What a terrible way to spell your last name. Anyways, he struggled last year when he first got called up, but he did have a 3.27 ERA in the playoffs. He had to start the year last year 8.37 ERA in May, a 4.01 ERA in 33 innings in August, 4.32 in September and October. But he had a 3.16 BABIP, which is batting average on balls in play, which means I expect that to go down. 3.16 is pretty high. I'm not thinking this guy's going to be an ace or anything like that, but I think he could easily be right around a 4 ERA. And you know what? When you get a young guy like this, that's a solid number 4 pitcher. He's got the stuff to do it. He showed it in the playoffs. So I think Brandon Pfaadt's one of those guys where if he pitches well, this could be one hell of a rotation, to be honest with you. So what do you think about this rotation?
Yeah, no, definitely. It definitely has the potential to be the second best rotation in the division for sure. Um, that's also going to help them win a lot of games. I think they can definitely. They're not going to win the division. Obviously, the Dodgers have that in the
Yeah.
bag, but they're competing for second spot in the division and
Hmm.
possibly a playoff berth and make the playoffs again.
Yeah.
How far they go, who knows? Last year was nuts. They swept the Dodgers, um, which is crazy. And the new playoff format's kind of weird, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. But yeah, no, they have a good bullpen too. Castro, Manaply, Seawald. Also have Jake McCarthy and Pavin Smith. Those guys are pretty decent. No, it's a solid team. It's a solid all around team. The
Yeah.
best at not the best at anything, but they're good at everything.
I completely agree. I mean, this is a team you'd look to probably compete for the number one wild card spot. I mean, it's just that kind of team. Um, their bullpen is a little worse than to me. 17th in bullpen ERA last year, 4.22. We'll see if Seawald, Castro, and Ginkel, all of those guys can carry them. But they did have a 3.58 playoff ERA. We'll see. A factor that you can't measure with stats or anything like that is that World Series hangover. You played all the way deep into October. Um, and then you lose the World Series. All that for that. So, does it make them hungrier? Are they more tired? Is there, just like in any sport, there's a hangover for teams that lose the Super Bowl and things like that. So we'll see if they can overcome it. I don't think you get that as much in baseball. It's such a long season. So I think they're going to be solid. They're going to be right there as the number 2 team. But let's go to the third team, the San Diego Padres. They are interesting because here's what they sucked with last year. Is one-run games. They finished 10-28 in one-run games, so they're due for some positive regression because they had a plus 104 run differential, but they lost Juan Soto, 4 prospects by the way. They lost Blake Snell, more than likely he's not coming back to San Diego. Lost Josh Hader a while back, obviously. Lost Michael Wacha, lost Seth Lugo, Trent Grisham. They lost some guys. It's a new look team here for them. Additions. How about Dylan Cease? Make that make sense to me. If you guys are a Padres fan out there, they trade Soto to get prospects. They're trying to rebuild, and then they trade prospects to get Dylan Cease. I'm trying to figure out: are they rebuilding or are they confused? What are they doing exactly, Brad?
Looks like they don't know what they're doing. I mean, the Padres, they haven't been good in a while. They've been good these past 3-4 years, and I think they don't know what they're doing because they got good. Now it's like, what do we do now? We just got to add, kind of trying to do what the Dodgers do, try to add stars, star power, but they add the wrong stars. Like Dylan Cease, yeah, he was good 2 years ago. Who knows? Maybe they know something we don't, and he actually picks it up. He doesn't do a 4.5 ERA. Maybe he does 3. Um, he has more offensive help now than he did with the White Sox, so
Mm-hmm.
maybe he'll get some confidence back. But yeah, I mean, starting rotation's not too crazy. Cease, you Darvish, Musgrove, and Patino, but that's pretty much it.
See, that's where I kind of disagree. I think the rotation is definitely their number 1 strength on this team because Yu Darvish is someone who I've never been a huge fan of. But he's shown flashes of being pretty good. Musgrove, even though he's just not a super elite, blow it by strike out the side kind of guy, but he's been solid. So you got Darvish, Musgrove, and now Dylan Cease. Now, yes, Cease struggled a little bit more last year. That team was just a wreck, though. That White Sox team, the clubhouse, everything. So now you get Cease in a more competitive atmosphere, hopefully in a pitcher's park. He's still a guy that misses a ton of bats. Cease strikes out a ton of guys. And then what we have not talked about is our third player spotlight. They added Michael King in the Juan Soto trade. If you don't know much about this guy, let me tell you: 2.75 ERA last year in 104.2 innings, a 29.5% K rate, 80th percentile. The batters had a ridiculously low 104 batting average against him on his changeup. Now, he only uses changeup 15% of the time. I think he probably should use it more based on these numbers, but sits about 95 on the fastball. He's pretty much average or better in all the advanced metrics and what you're looking for: ground balls, home runs, all those kind of things. But the question is, can he become a full starter for a full season and stay efficient? We're going to find out. But if he can, these numbers, along with Cease, Darvish, and Musgrove, I mean, they're going to play a lot of low-scoring games out there in San Diego. And their bullpen had the 10th lowest ERA last year. And they did have a couple big additions. Matsui and Go is the last name. What is his full name? I have his full name, Brad. Do you know off the top of your head? It is...
I'm not gonna be able to answer that.
Oh, they
I
added
tried to bring up
Woo
my
Suk Go. Okay. I think that's his name. I'm not kidding. From Korea, throws 98 miles an hour, which is the hardest throwing reliever in Korea. That's who they got. And then they added Yuki Matsui. Sorry if I butchered these names. He had 71 saves last year in Japan, or not last year, in the past 2 seasons, and a 1.92 ERA. So they added some really good, possible good bullpen pieces. Obviously, they're both rookies, so we'll see what they do in the majors now. To me, this team's a 500 team, right? I mean, what do you think about this team?
I had them like at about round 500, like 85 wins. But
Yeah.
playing a tough division, they'll probably take third in the division, maybe fourth.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, no.
and we haven't talked about Tatis, obviously one of the top players in the majors. Can he stay healthy for a full season? Can he stay out of trouble for a full season? The pressure's off him. I think that Soto trade kind of took pressure off him. Like, okay, no one's expecting us now to win a World Series all of a sudden. But yeah, that's the Padres, and then another team who I think is going to finish right around where they do. It's the San Francisco Giants, another middling team. I mean, this is as middling as it gets to me. Jung Hoo Lee out of Japan. They just signed for 6 years, $113 million. Robbie Ray they got from the Mariners in a trade. Reliever Jordan Hicks, 4-year, $44 million. He is going to be a starter. We'll talk about him in a second. They just added Jorge Soler, huge. I mean, just much needed power in the middle of this lineup. And then they signed Matt Chapman as well, who's a guy who hits 220, but can hit bombs and play elite defensively. Then they lost Mitch Haniger, who decided to come back to the Mariners, and Anthony DeSclafani, who came to the Mariners and is now somewhere else. I forgot now, but he's not on our team. But their lineup, they had the third lowest batting average in the majors last season, hit 235, the fourth lowest slugging percentage, and 24th in runs scored. Their offense was a problem. But let me just talk about a few pieces. Lamont Wade, he finished 8th in the National League. This surprised me with a 373 on base percentage. And then you got Estrada. He led all Giants players with a 3.9 fWAR with injuries included in that. And now they got some guys with power in Chapman and Soler. So what do you make of this Giants team? Is it middling, or you think they're better than what I'm saying?
No, I think they'll be right around there. They still, they don't have a legit shortstop.
Yeah.
Which is kind of scary. It's going to be either Fitzgerald, Lopez, Luciano, or Schmidt. They're still deciding, but I mean, you get a Gold Glove third baseman Chapman, that definitely helped address that need. But yeah, they got a couple guys with power, a couple guys for average, but yeah, their bullpen. They got the Rogers brothers.
Yep.
They got both of them. Luke Jackson. When the bullpen's not very great, I
Well,
would say.
Duvall's a stud.
Duvall's a stud closer.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
pretty much it. You got decent guys in the bullpen. Starting rotation, Alex Cobb, who knows where we're gonna get with that. Harrison Webb obviously is good, but he kind of had a down year. But if Cobb and Webb can pick it up and say Hicks works out and actually becomes a legit starter, who knows? Yeah, the win will be a little bit above 500.
Yeah, what a transition, Brad. You didn't even know you're transitioning. Player spotlight, number 3, Jordan Hicks. He joins the rotation after signing, so he's a reliever. This guy throws hard, and that's an understatement. I mean, he's stupid hard. He threw 2 pitches last year over 105 miles an hour. That's not even legal in most states. That's absolutely insane. 3.29 ERA, 3.30 expected ERA, 28.4% K rate. He's an unbelievable ground ball pitcher because of that sinker that's 100 miles an hour. Yeah, it's just insane. Then he added an incredible sweeper to his arsenal, 59.5% whiff rate on that one. The only questions with him are, can he command his pitches? Can he stay healthy? And can he pitch as a starter for the whole season? Because he has not done that, I don't believe. He's mostly been a reliever his whole career. But they're going to try him out in the rotation. If he can, listen, he's not going to throw 105 all the time because obviously it's different throwing 1 inning as opposed to trying to stretch your arm out to 5, 6, 7 innings. But I'm curious to see what he does because, if he does pitch as well as he is capable of doing, along with Logan Webb, it's not a bad 1-2 punch. Obviously, the rotation as a whole is not dominant or anything like that, but that was just a guy I was just interested to see, his numbers because I just remember I watch him pitch sometimes. And I say I don't even know how he ever gets hit. And in fact, him and Duvall on this team, how did any of them get hit? It just and the closer for the Twins that I'm blanking on right now. Closer for the Twins, the guy that throws 100. Duran? Yeah.
Yeah, Duran.
Oh my God, those guys are so nasty. But anyways, that was just something interesting. Bullpen's going to be okay, like you mentioned. Good closer, but nothing great after that. A few good pieces, but that's the Giants. I think they're around 500. It's not going to be an exciting team to watch. But they'll be okay. You know, they got a great stadium, maybe one of the best in the majors. So, and then the fifth and final team of the National League before we get into our best bets and our World Series predictions is a team that you guys have been waiting on the edge of your seat for. It is the Colorado Rockies, baby. They are the only NL team to finish with 100+ losses last season. They are flat out no bueno, not good, horrendous, terrible. Lineup finished with the worst WRC plus last season at 78. Again, 100 is average. They are terrible. The only bright spot maybe is Nolan Jones, fourth in National League Rookie of the Year last year. Chris Bryant's been bad for a long time. He was supposed to be the next coming of, I don't know, someone really good. He has just not turned out to be that good in his career. And then they got Brendan Rodgers, you know, Ryan McMahon, a decent little player, but this team's just bad. Tell me something positive about this team, because I looked at this team and I thought, this is horrendous. This is so bad.
I mean, they didn't really make any changes. They didn't
No.
really do anything. They got Quantrill from Cleveland, but that's about it. He's adding to the starting rotation. But it's Freeland, Marquez, and Quantrill.
Those
Garbage.
are aces.
Yeah,
Brad.
those are going to be their aces, and that's just garbage. Then you got, their bullpen. They got Bards, Beaks, and Birds, the triple Bs. That's pretty much it. And then they got Elias, the catcher. He's pretty good. But yeah, they don't really have much. They have these young guys that are pretty good, but they're not competing. I don't know what they're doing.
No,
Didn't make
they're
any
not doing anything.
They didn't make any transactions, and the trade deadline they'll probably be sellers of guys like Toglia, McMahon, Hilliard, and probably even Jones. And Charlie Blackman's still playing.
Which is insane. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's mind-boggling to me. But and on top of all that, their bullpen had the worst bullpen ERA in the league last year. Like they are doing an impressive job at being just terrible in all phases of their team. You know what I mean? Like they don't even have one strength where it's like they are going to hang their hat. Their bullpen was horrendous last year. Their rotation, when your biggest offseason move that people are excited about is Cal Quantrill, their rotation's awful, and they only have a couple decent young pieces. I mean, in their lineup, it's just awful. The Rockies suck. I'm not going to waste my breath anymore. I'm ready to talk some freaking best bets, so let's get into it. Brad has 3. I have 4, I believe. So we got a lot of bets, and if you're looking for the National League bet or the American League bets, obviously those are in the other video. But I feel good about all these. After this, we will talk World Series predictions. Brad, I'm going to kick it to you. Give me your best bets that you have for the National League.
Alrighty. My number 1 bet is going to be the Cubs to win the division. It's going to be close between them and the Cardinals. It's at plus 180. But I think the Cubs are just a little bit better than the Cardinals, and I think with getting Bellinger back and all that, they look pretty good. I just watched one of their spring training games right now against the Rangers, and they looked good. And that division's kind of up in the air, like it usually is. But yeah, the Cubs win the division, plus 180. Second bet is going to be
Real quick before you get into that. Where do you think the big advantage is there than Cubs over the Cardinals? Like, what made you lean Cubs as opposed to the Cardinals?
I would probably have to say the pitching. Their pitching
Yeah.
is a little better than the Cardinals. Offensively wise, they're going to be around the same, but I even think they're a little better offensively too. I think they have more pieces.
Less stars at the top, but more depth probably in the Cubs lineup.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. They got younger talent that's better.
Yep.
Second bet, uh, to win the NL Cy Young at plus 1200, I have Zach Gallen, who I believe he was kind of snubbed last year. He was pretty good, and I think he's going to be good again this year. Coming back from the World Series, maybe he's a little hungry. He wants to keep pitching great. Hopefully that stays. Going to get 200 plus strikeouts. I assume he's going to have at least 15 wins, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, that's going to be my bet for the Cy Young.
I'm gonna have a comment to say about that. As you're talking, I'm pulling something up on my computer. He struggled last year when it came to home and away splits. It was absolutely incredible. He had this is what cost him in his Cy Young too, a 2.47 ERA at home and a 4.42 ERA on the road. So obviously he has it in him. He's just got to figure it out on the road. I don't
Hmm.
know what it is or what the deal is going on there, but it was he was just getting hit around a lot more, and he gave up a 245 average as opposed to 230 at home, things like that. Gave up 15 bombs as pairs of 7. So, I mean, he's got the stuff in him. That's what you like to see. If he can switch, figure it out on the road, then he's definitely going to be right there in the NL Cy Young. I just thought that was interesting, so I wanted to point it out.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. He's gonna have to be better on the road. So
Yeah.
hopefully he figures it out this year.
Yep.
If they want to compete again. It was amazing they even competed. Nobody
Mhm.
expected them to go that far, which is crazy. It was nice to see.
Yep.
And then my third bet, I have the Phillies to win the National League. So it's going to be plus 750 for that. Um, I know, crazy, because obviously the big favorites are the Dodgers to win the whole thing. But the Phillies seem to play really well in the playoffs, and that's where it counts. The Dodgers didn't play well in the playoffs. I know they got a lot more firepower now, but who knows? When it comes down to the playoffs, it's a different game, different mindset, different ball game. And I just like the Phillies in the playoffs. They seem to silence all the doubters whenever they needed to, and they moved on.
They're also the Braves' daddy a little bit in the
Exactly. The
playoffs. Yeah.
Braves, daddy, just dominates
Yep.
the Braves. One team that dominates the Braves.
Yeah. Really, honestly. Um, Favorite bet out of those three, Brad?
Uh, favorite would probably be the Cubs to win the division.
Yep,
Because I
I
kind of,
agree.
I kind of like the Cubs, and I think that one is going to be pretty much the for sure bet. I think they're going to win the division.
All right. Sorry, Reds fans. There's no love for the Reds. Although, I don't mind people taking Reds. It's like plus 350. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if those young guys can do it. They got some excitement. So, but that is definitely the other wild card. But those are Brad's three bets. Let's pull up my four now. Here we go. Let's pull up the winners, guys. Enough of that. It's winter time. I got a couple boring unders. Who's ready for that? Marlins team total under 78.5 wins, minus 105 on DraftKings. They finished 84 and 78. So they finished over this by 5 wins. Here is the wild stat of the year. Last year, the Marlins 33 and 13 in one-run games. They set a record in baseball by winning their first 12 one-run games. That is not going to happen again. I promise you that. And it's also the 7th best record in baseball history for one-run games. Huge negative regression coming. And in fact, I heard a stat. Teams who have won over 70% of their one-run games finish with an average of 12 and a half less wins next year. Follow me on that? Teams that win over 70% of their one-run games the next year, they lose on average about 12 and a half more games. The Mariners have seen that. They had one really good season where they won a ton of one-run games. The next year, you saw the difference. So on top of all those numbers, the Marlins are now going to be without Jorge Soler to the Giants. Sandy Alcantara, Tommy John surgery, like we talked about. They are going to be relying on Luis Arias, Jazz Chisholm, can he stay healthy, Jake Berger, and Josh Belt. I mean, those are the main guys. They don't have any power. They just flat out don't have power. Berger's going to be their main power source, and Jazz, I don't think he can stay healthy and overrated in my opinion. And Arias, you know what you're going to get? You're going to get a million hits. He's going to hit 350, but he has zero power also. Rotation, you're relying on Jesus Luzardo. Breakout season last year, but he had a 4.02 ERA in the second half of the year. He's a good pitcher, but that's who you're relying on. It's going to come down to Yuri Perez. Like I've said, he's a young flamethrower, ton of talent, but he does lose his command a lot. He's 20 years old. 20. So what we're going to get out of him, we'll see. Their bullpen, maybe slight improvement. They were 21st in ERA in the bullpen last year. But negative regression, losing 2 of their top players. I think this is an excellent bet. It's one of my favorites. Under 78.5 wins for the Miami Marlins. The second one, Brad, are you ready for this one?
I believe so.
The Dodgers under 103.5 wins,
Ooh.
minus 110 on DraftKings. 5 of the last 6 teams that have had a win total of 100 or more games have gone under. 5 of the last 6. The Dodgers were actually the last team to go over a total like that. The highest win total since the 1999 Yankees, and those Yankees won 98 games. That means nothing. It's just an interesting stat. But this team is absolutely loaded. They are a World Series favorite. I am not sitting here telling you they are going to suck or anything like that. But 103.5 wins is a lot. This is a team that's not going to care too much about pushing guys if there's any injuries to pitchers at the end of the year because they're going to have a humongous lead in the National League West. And this rotation does not scream at me 104 wins. This is what I wanted to wait to bite my tongue when Brad was talking about them. Kershaw is only good for so many innings. We know that he's at the very end of his career. He is not going to be out there pitching a lot. Tyler Glasnow, his 120 innings last year was only the second time in his career he's ever pitched over 100. Ever. I mean, and we're not even talking like 180, 190 innings. This guy gets hurt every single time. And then they brought in, obviously, the big rookie, Yamamoto. He looks nasty, but again, it's his first season pitching in the majors. What is that going to be like? And then other pitchers. Walker Buehler, not available till later in the season, maybe midway through. Dustin May, he may not even pitch this year. Bobby Miller's the one pitcher I do like. Young pitcher, 3.76 ERA last year, throws 99. We're gonna see how he ends up, but then it's Michael Grove, Gavin Stone, just not good. James Paxton, he hasn't pitched 100 innings since 2019. James Paxton, he's 35 years old, ex-Mariner. I know all about him. Just a ton of unknowns in this rotation, to be honest with you. Obviously, if we assumed Glasnow gives you a full season for the first time in his life, that changes things. If Yamamoto looks nasty all season long and just dominates, then that changes things as well, and this bet may lose. But I think it's all about the rotation. This lineup is so freaking good. I get it, and they're going to make up for some of the problems that the rotation has. But 103.5, like I said, for a team that's probably going to be up 15 games in the final month of the season, doesn't care as much. I like the under 103.5. Bet at your own risk because it's not pretty. And then bet number 3. Now we're getting to the long odds. Give me Michael Harris of the Atlanta Braves to be the hits leader, plus 4,000 on FanDuel. It was 2,500 on DraftKings, so this is insane value. He had the 4th most hits after the All-Star break. That's right, the 4th most hits in the major leagues after the All-Star break. Oh, by the way, he hit in the bottom of the freaking order in the Atlanta Braves lineup. I expect him to be moved up a little bit this year. If he's not exactly, obviously it hurts a little bit with some ABs. But any injuries, he's going to hit second. He's going to be moved up right away. And I think that's really why we're getting these great odds, because he's an unbelievable hitter. He should be at the top of the order everywhere. And what you like to see is he hit 301 versus lefties and 290 versus righties. So he can hit both type of pitchers. He did win NL Rookie of the Year a couple of years ago. In case you don't know who he is, he's a stud. He hit 325 in his final 71 games, 89 hits in those 71 games. Obviously, it's a long shot because he has to beat out, well, let's just talk about it, 3 of his own teammates. Ronald Acuna, Austin Riley, Matt Olson, and then you got Freddie Freeman, Ohtani, Arias, Mookie Betts, Semien, Julio. All these guys, there's a ton of great hitters in the majors. We know that. But at plus 4,000 for a guy that's on the rise in his 3rd year, he had the 4th most hits in the majors last year after the All-Star break. Yeah, give me Michael Harris. All right, this final bet is something I have not done ever, maybe. It's a stolen base prop. Give me C.J. Abrams to lead the league in stolen bases at plus 850 on FanDuel. He led the entire major leagues in stolen bases second half of the year. I bet nobody knew that. He had 33. He had only 246 last season. So obviously he needs to improve as a hitter to have a chance here, because you got to get on base to steal bases. Yep, that's right. I just figured that out. He has an above average K rate. If he can get his walks up a little bit more and figure out a way to hit, he's one of the top prospects a couple years ago, got in the trade for Juan Soto. And, if this guy's hitting 260, 270, getting on base more, I mean, the sky's the limit. This guy is unbelievable at stealing bases. You're looking at guys like Esteury Ruiz of the A's, who stole a ton of bases. I don't like his bat as good as, I don't think his bat is as good as C.J. Abrams. So, but I mean, we're talking plus 850 for a guy that led the league in the second half of last year. So I think he's getting more comfortable. Obviously, you got Acuna, who may steal, I don't know, a million bases. He's unbelievable. But I'm going to take my chances at plus 850 on C.J. Abrams to be the stolen bases leader. I won't ramble anymore about it because it is stolen bases. So those are our best future bets for the National League. And now we got to end the final conversation before the 2024 MLB season is the World Series predictions. Here we are, Brad. It is time. Obviously, me and Brad, if you didn't follow us last year, we had the Rangers over the Diamondbacks in the World Series. Absolutely not. In fact, I think I liked the Rangers under wins as a best bet last year. It's like, I didn't understand why the Rangers wins jumped so high, so I took the under, and then they go and win a World Series. So what the hell do I know? Brad, who's winning this friggin' World Series? Who's playing in it? What do you got?
Like I believe I said in the last video, I have obviously in this video I said the Phillies are going to win the National League, which means they're going to be in the World Series, and I also have the Rangers going back again, and I believe the Rangers are still that team, and I think they're going to repeat.
So the Rangers over the Phillies in the World Series. The Phillies lose the World Series yet again, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. Well,
Unfortunately, it's gonna happen.
I got two completely different teams. My prediction for the MLB season is the Atlanta Braves over the Baltimore Orioles. How about that one? I like we talked about. I think the Braves lineup is a little bit more deep and just better overall than the Dodgers. Right now, I like their rotation a little more. Can the Braves get it done in the playoffs? We're going to find out, but they have to at some point. Yes, they have been getting beat by the Phillies. But I mean, to predict what's going to happen in one series in the end of the season is going to be hard. So I just like them overall. Hopefully, Chris Sale can give them some innings and give them some help. And then the Orioles, young team, got a taste of the playoffs last year. We talked about in the video. I think Brad had a best bet for them to win the division this year. I hope Bradish and Means are going to be okay for the long haul in regards to injuries and all that. Obviously, adding Corbin Burns is huge. I just think they're loaded. Then you got Jackson Holiday. How much is he going to contribute? He looks legit already. I'm going to be honest. He looks like an elite bat on ball kind of guy. This team is loaded up and down with young talent. I may be jumping the gun. They might be a year or two away, like we've talked about, but you know what? I'll take a chance. So give me the Braves over the Orioles as my 2024 World Series prediction. And then when we do this again, middle of the season, All-Star break, I will probably give you two new teams based on how it's going. Now, hopefully not. We'll see. But man, I am freaking excited for baseball season. I can't wait. Again, we are going to be doing MLB daily videos every single night, and I'm going to be giving you a ton of research help, good hitter matchups, good pitcher matchups. We're going to talk about leaders in total bases if you like to bet that. We're going to talk pitcher reports every single day, giving out expected ERAs, K percentages, everything you need. Of course, I'll give out some best bets too, but there's going to be a ton of research help. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I freaking love baseball. Brad, you got anything else to add or anything about the 2024 season?
It's gonna be a good one. A lot of roster changes. It's gonna be awesome. Like I said, I'm
Yep,
excited for baseball. Excited to see my Tigers be better. Um, it's gonna be sweet. Just
they
watching
are.
all the spring training games. It's awesome. Just
I
awesome to be
did see
back.
a bold prediction that the Tigers were going to win the AL Central somewhere, by the way. I thought you'd like that.
Yeah, no, I have them competing. They're gonna compete for second, and who knows? The Twins are up and down. They might have a good season. They might have a bad one.
Yep. And you know what? If we see a Tigers Mariners ALCS, life is good here on Just About Outside. That's for sure.
Mhm.
But, anyways, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. That's awesome. Appreciate you getting on talking baseball. Everyone else, leave your comments below. Let me know who you got for the World Series, your best bets, or how much you agree with me and disagree with Brad. Right? That's probably what's going to happen. But, anyways, that's what we got for the MLB season. We will be back talking baseball when the season begins. Hope you guys have a good one. We'll talk to you soon.